in today's tutorial we're looking at the classic granny square with a twist. So as you can see here, mine looks fairly chunky and it's also got various colours running throughout it. So I've actually used 3 strands of yarn in 3 different colours to make this granny square. So I've gone with a red, white and blue theme, because 2022 is the year of the Jubilee, so I thought it would be a really fun make. So if you wanted to make yourself something, or I'm using one as a coaster currently, you can use it in blankets, scarves, anything you like. Make it bigger, add more rows, make a placemat, a table runner, whatever you fancy, yeah, for the Jubilee. So I wanted just to go over with you how I created it, what yarn I used, what hook size I used, and then I want to run through a little tutorial with you. So as you can see, I have used 3 strands of yarn, and I have used chunky yarn to create this project. So this chunky yarn uses a 6mm hook. So for this project I stranded 3 together and used a 12mm hook. This hook is a Knit Pro hook, I think. I'll leave a link to the Lovecrafts website below so you can get yourself some chunky yarn and this hook. But I think I got this hook from Amazon, so I'll also leave the link to the hook below. To get started with our granny square, we need to create this centre bit first. So any classic granny square starts with a chain 4. So I'm actually going to chain 5 just because my yarn's a bit chunkier, so I want that, and my hook's a bit bigger as well, so I just want that extra bit of room to be able to use both together. So I'm going to make a slip knot. You can make this whichever way you prefer. Put your hook in there using all 3 strands of yarn together and pull that tight. Like I said, I'm going to chain 5, but if you know a classic granny square, then you normally chain 4. 3, 4 and 5. So your chain should look a little something like this. Now these do get in the way, you know, there's a lot of material and you're using multiple strands, so just keep pushing them out of the way so you've got space to work. Now just like the classic, we're going to slip stitch into that first chain, so don't chain too tightly. Yarn over and pull through, and then continue to pull through that loop on the hook. Then we're going to chain 3, 1, 2 and 3. Now this might feel a bit strange, the movement in your hand is a bit bigger, and that's just because we're using a bigger hook, so we've got a bit more to hold onto and bigger yarn. So don't be put off by that, it is hard work. But it makes for a really nice granny square. And the good thing about this is because it's multiple strands of a chunky yarn, it's really plushy as well. So anything that you use it on is going to have that extra bit of thickness and bounce to it. So we are going to make a cluster of 3 double crochets. So we have chained 3 and that counts as 1 double crochet. Then we're going to do a double crochet straight into that center circle and another double crochet straight in there. Now you might have noticed I'm using US terms. In the UK this stitch is known as a treble crochet, and you can find a link for a conversion chart in the description box below. So once you have your first cluster of 3, between each space we are going to chain 3. So we're going to chain 3 to make these spaces here. So we're working this round here at the moment. So we're going to do a chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, and then back into that center circle we're going to do a cluster of 3 double crochets. So you're going to do 3 more double crochets into that center circle. I'm just holding my tails down. I'm not going to crochet over them, sorry, for the whole way round, because you do need to pull in or cinch in your center circle, but I am going to sew over them for this round so I don't have as much to sew in at the end. So that is 1 double crochet, holding those ends close to your work and making a second double crochet. And I'm not going to sew over them anymore, they are pretty short now for my last double crochet. Okay, so that's your second cluster of 3. Now you're going to chain 3 again, and you're going to work another cluster, then you're going to chain 3 and work another cluster. So we need 4 clusters in total. So I'm going to leave you to create the rest of your clusters, and then I will meet you back once you've created your 4th cluster and show you how to join to your original one. As you can see, I've finished my last cluster, so you should have 4 clusters of 3, each with a chain 3 in between. This cluster to this cluster is no different. We still need to chain 3 to move over to the next cluster, 2, 3, and then all we're going to do is count up from the bottom of this chain 3. We're going to count to our 3rd chain, so 1, 2 and 3. And you're just going to put your hook into that chain 3 space for a slip stitch. You're going to go under 2 loops, for a slip stitch. So yarn over, pull through the hole and then pull back through that loop on the hook. And you've joined your first round, which should look a little something like this. And like I said, you can pull on those ends to cinch in that circle. Just pull there and then that gets tighter. So it's not as much of a gap now in between your centre circle. Now we're going to move on to round 2. So round 2 is here. So this square only has 3, no it doesn't, it only has 2 rounds, this square. So we're going to move on to round 2, which is the outer round. So to get going on this round, we are going to chain 3. We start every round with a chain 3. But we need to move from this space here that we're working in to this space here. So on round 2 only, we're going to chain 1 between spaces. So this is only for round 2, no other rounds, just because we're only working in corners and we don't want our work to kind of buckle in on itself. So I like to chain 1, but only on round 2. So we have our 3 here, and we need to move from this space to this space. So we're just going to do that chain 1. So your first chain will be a chain 4. And this is going to be true for every other row. So if you are on an even row, so this is row 2, so when you get to row 4, you will chain 4 again to move over to the next space. And that's only for the first chain, just to move over to that next space so your work doesn't buckle in. Every odd row you should come out, so we joined here on this square, so if we did a chain 3 here, we could work straight into this space here, no problem, and that chain 3 would count as our first double crochet. So now we're doing corners into the corners. So a corner is a cluster of 3, a chain 3 and a cluster of 3 all into the same space. So let's go ahead and do that. So you've got your chain 4, and you're going to do a cluster of 3 double crochet into this space here. Two and 3 after your cluster of 3, and you can just push that over to make yourself some more room in there, and you're going to do another 3 double crochet into that same space. 2 and 3, and then just like I mentioned before, we are going to chain 1 only on round 2 to help us jump to the next space. So on all the other rounds you'll have extra spaces. The bigger you make the project, the more spaces you will have. So look, as you can see here, you've got a corner space, then a space in between, then a corner space. So you don't need to do your chain 1 because you're not jumping from corner to corner. You've got this extra gap to work into. So we are going to do exactly the same as this corner in this corner here. So a cluster of 3, a chain 3, a cluster of 3. Two, and 3, and then a chain 3. So if you like this tutorial, please give it a massive thumbs up, subscribe to my channel so I know that you enjoy the content and that you want me to create more. We're going to do another cluster of 3 in here, Then we're going to do one more. A chain 1 and then the same into the next corner. I'm going to meet you back at this corner here, which is our last corner. Just because we've got this chain 3 coming out of it, it's going to look a little different, so I'm going to let you get on with this corner and I'm going to meet you back here. So I've now completed this corner. I've chained 1 in between my corner spaces and I've created my first cluster of 3 in this last space here with my original chain 3 coming out of it. So what I'm going to chain 3 now, just like we normally do, to create that corner. And then instead of doing a cluster of 3, because I already have this chain 3, I'm going to crochet 2 double crochet into this same spot. 1 and 2. Okay, and then I'm going to slip stitch to the top of that chain 3. So counting up from the bottom, 1, 2 and 3, and I'm just going to go straight into that number 3 chain and create my slip stitch. And there you've created your first. This is a pretty good size, I think. I haven't got a tape measure, sorry, so I can't measure how big it is, but I will measure it afterwards and leave it in the description box below. So it's a really quick make. It's only 2 rounds of a granny square, 3 strands of chunky yarn, and it's already made 1 decent sized square. So you could just do this. You could even make bunting from this, which would look really, really nice. Anyway, I'm going to leave you to go and create your squares. I'd love to see pictures of them if you do create them. So please tag me over on Instagram at Hev's Home Crochet. I'll catch you for the next one.